Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJ Live.
Episode 60, and wouldn't you know it, we are still cooking here on the program, and it's funny enough that we get to a point where it seems like everything's all good and everything's working out, and then we get a piece of news almost every other week concerning our what we doing here and the DJ scene and just the future of a lot of things, and it's just stuff we have to learn, stuff we have to talk about, and wouldn't you know it, it's going to filter into VRChat. So welcome on in to VRCDJ Live. I'm Rob Roman, your host, and if you're brand new to the program, we talked about everything here in the VRChat scene, whether it's if you're a club owner, if you're a world builder, if you're a DJ, hell, even if you're in a community and you want to talk about your experiences with the rave scene, we're here and we're here to cover it. And of course, you know, all sorts of festivals that are coming on down the line here in 2026. Lots of new talk, lots of new things, and especially for those people that are interested in joining us, not only as a guest, but as DJs in our scene as well. We'd love to hear from you. We see a lot of you on YouTube coming in, wanting to learn a lot about the economy in here and the VRChat, the VRDJ scene, especially because that's starting to shape up a lot too. But this is the program for it. You know, we sit down, talk about the news, and see where everybody's stances are on it. So welcome on in. Glad to have you here. And episode 60, we got a special guest with us today, a well-known organizer, middleman of the VRChat community, performing for groups such as DDVR, Resumu, Shelter, and many more, and actually having lots of roots within the JP scene. Please welcome to the VRC DJ Live studios, Paul Manton.
Hey, how we doing, Rob?
Glad to have you here. And even better to have you here. It's funny because we've been hearing lots of big talk to have you on here, and you're quite the popular dude, and not for nothing. I mean, I'd love to hear your take on why you've become so popular in this scene.
I think I got here when the community was pretty small, and that was around 2019. There was a great group of people here who were really dedicated at DDVR, Resumu, VRCPC, which is a European club now called Just Party. And there was a small community here, and they all got together and had a good time together. And when I came here and saw that, I was like, wow, this place is pretty nice. I see a lot of potential here. And I really just wanted to do something here that was useful for people, whether that was hosting or helping organize or helping book DJs or DJing myself. This was a time right before COVID, and before I came to VRChat, the only live internet music was Twitch, and text chat is very impersonal, and VRChat is quite the opposite. So as soon as I found this place, I felt like, oh, if I can be useful here, that would be great. And I think over time, you know, it's been 7 years now. I think over time, being useful to people, they remember, you know, even if it's just, you know, helping someone have a better night, something simple, it can be memorable. And that's kind of why I stay here. Because I see a lot of that from other people as well. You know, I feed off that energy from other people as well, who make my days better or my weekends better or something like that.
It's good to see that there's so much movement within the community, and even mostly recently too, it seems like a lot of the community members are a little split between whether or not they want to do more within our community outside of just attending shows. And we, as members, as DJs, as club owners, as everyone that's kind of working as a cogged wheel in this moving thing, you know, obviously we depend a lot about our community to come in, and because like that's what feeds a lot of everybody. You know, DJs can DJ for themselves and they can like perform, and they're performing for the crowd, and in order to get the response from the crowd, that's what makes them better DJs. But even in VRChat, especially even at the beginning of every year, give or take now, between now and like May, let's just say, there's a lot of members in our community that want to pursue DJing, and even just March alone, they're just like, oh, it could be just as simple as getting a Flex 4 and testing in the waters, which it's been great because in the past couple of years, we've been accepting of that. We've been wanting them to kind of continue to do that. But it's great to see that you wanted to shape the community. You wanted to come in and kind of promote everybody and just get to know everybody on kind of a personal based level by also showing support. And it's because of your contributions that I think a lot of the community members want to continue to feed on that option as well. Have you been seeing a lot of people doing the same thing too?
Yeah, yeah. I really, I love to see people supporting each other and building their own communities. Kind of grouping up, whether it's around genre that they DJ, or where it's around shared interest, or even some people around physical location. When they meet in VR chat, people are able to form, parties or collectives, or even just interact and go to shows together from meeting in here. So, that there's people in here who never DJ'd in front of anybody before. So if they get a little support in here, you never know what that's going to do for them. You know, I'm sure the first times you DJ'd on Twitch, people supporting you still meant something, even though you've DJ'd other places. Like, it's not an insignificant thing to get support from people. So I think when you're in a place like this, surrounded by people giving each other support, it's very motivating for you to not only level yourself up, but notice other people's achievements and support them, alongside yourself.
It's great that you got to mention that too. And some of the things we fail to recognize from time to time is just that, is like you'll always underestimate the power of a community of people that enjoy a specific thing, that depending on where they are in the country or in the world, they're gonna like cultivate this massive entity, and like they'll produce their own shows, and they'll have their meetups, and they'll go get pizza, they'll go bowling, or maybe they'll even have a couple of meetups in VR chat, and then they go meet up somewhere else in a park or something, and they hang out. It's so unfathomable that our community is so large and so passionate, that I think a lot of people take that out of context sometimes, because I think a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of content online have just been kind of just pooing on the fact that, oh, people are in here and they're lewd and they're horny and they're drunk and they do drugs and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But in reality, like, I know for the kids on the East Coast, they have MagFest. MagFest happens every year. That place sells out every year.
It's a rowdy place. I've been there.
Yeah, and it's massive too with the VRChat community, because they have usually Peppercast helps out with the cross promotion and doing the virtual mirror and stuff. But like, those are the things I think a lot of people forget about, and the fact that this community is so large. I mean, we'll probably also dive into the fact that Shelter's going to Japan this year. I mean, just the fact that that's massive too.
Very big news. Very big news. And yeah, I love to see friends from the community performing, or even just attending events like MagFest, or other small shows. I've gotten to meet a bunch of people from the community at Shelter Con New York, and other shows I've gone to in New York and Baltimore and other places around the area. And for some people, it's their first time ever going to a show in real life, and they got, I don't even want to call it like the bug, like the festival bug or the club bug or something like that. They just maybe got convinced that it would be something worth checking out, like getting out of the house and going and doing. And it helps when you have people that you trust, when you work together and you're a community together, and you feel like you're safe and you can go do those things. So by the time I got to VR chat, I had already lived a life of partying and going out and stuff like that. So this was more of like something to, what am I going to do with my free time now that I'm older? So it's interesting to watch younger people kind of growing up in here and going out and experiencing stuff for the first time. But like, if I can be around to make that a more positive thing for people instead of like a crazy, wild, insane thing like it was for me when I was younger, without being like a preachy person, I'll do it. I kind of like this place. Of course it has those negative aspects you brought up, but it also has good examples of what you can do if you're around this party scene. You know, you can take it in a positive direction and build a community, or share your music, or VJ, or make visuals for people, or make avatars for VTubers. Like there's all these other avenues where you can get involved in a way that is cool for you.
I know this could be jumping the gun a little bit, just
Mm.
because I know it's still early in the year. There's a lot of conventions that are kind of picking up the pieces, and like some of the people that I have been kind of communicating with for a lot of these conventions, they are feeding into the fact that our community is growing larger. Give or take within the past year, we've been explaining how the DJs in here have been really moving really fast. They've been they've been kind of professional while showing off the things that they can do in here, the skills that they have in here, that those skills can pay the bills and they can go perform and stuff like that. Just saying how we were being able to mention to be able to meet up in major cities such as New York or LA, or what have you, Atlanta, and all these major cities, comparable to the fact that you have a lot of people that are looking at like anime conventions or like pop culture conventions, and they're saying that like they don't realize how large these conventions are compared to the fact that our scene is so massive too. Not to even kind of bring up like TwitchCon. TwitchCon, our VRChat community meetup happens to grow at least by 75 people each year.
Yeah, the group
And that,
photo's massive.
yeah, and
It's hard to believe, you know.
even though that does sound like a smaller number, 75 people could still, you could fill an instance with 75 people in here. But again, shot in the dark here, and just I want your opinion on it, is just like we've already crossed the border of like understanding cross promotion, the XR stuff where you have the VR IRL interaction with the magic mirror. I think that's the term I was looking for, magic mirror. Compared to all of that, where are we headed with this? Are we actually going to start creeping our news into like modern day society, and hopefully getting more people involved in our community?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I do think the interplay between real life and VR is really cool, because um, forming a community around niche interests is easier when you have multiple sources of people interacting with it. And then that also shows other people in real life about it, which is like a cross pollination of showing people like, hey, this is like a real thing that people do. Normal people like us in this bar with you, we do this, or this club. If random people wind up at an event like that. I saw stuff like that in Japan. We did one event that was on like a really high-end rooftop place, totally out of a character for our group of friends in VRChat. But one of our friends that's a DJ was a manager there, so he has the ability to rent it out for special occasions.
Oh, wow.
And if it's the kind of place that people walking on the street go, oh, there's a rooftop bar here, let's go check it out. So random people wind up there, and they kind of walk in and they're like, what the hell? What kind of group is this? I don't know how we look, but it's not what they expect when they come up. They're expecting like a nightclub type scene, and it's more of like an underground DJ, people drinking and going nuts kind of. And by the end, they're like convinced, just because it's such like an eclectic group of people, not really united by anything besides like enjoyment of the community and the music and the people in it. So I think it will happen more. Mass adoption, I'm not sure. Maybe if there's some sort of crazy like viral event, but I don't know like what that would be in 2026.
It's funny enough that you mentioned that too, because I was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, And funny enough, I wouldn't have known of this place unless I was like perusing through TikTok. And, you know, again, smartphones are getting smarter by listening to the things that I enjoy and the things I talk about, because those things pop up all the time. But for some reason, it was able to calculate VRChat plus Vegas equals this bar. And it's kind of it's going through its paces. We're going to be starting to hear about it very, very soon, TM. But there is a bar in Las Vegas called the Millennium Fandom Bar that legit not only does it cater to cosplayers, like the bartender cosplays, she does all the TikTok promotion and social media promotion. But when I went to go visit this bar, after maybe 3 or 4 videos, they were explaining that people were calling it the VRChat bar. I promise you, I was sitting in there and I asked her, I was like, so I heard about this place being the VRChat bar. And she's like, funny enough, we're setting up a magic mirror right over there. And I look over and they're like putting on the Oculus and they've got a whole instance of
so cool.
map and VR and stuff. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you know it? I have this show. like I know some of the developers and stuff like that, but like that blows my mind because I've asked her a bunch of questions about it too, because I would think it's kind of quirky to be able to go to a bar and everybody's cosplaying as a specific character. And it's getting a little bit, it acts more whimsy to the idea of just going out to go drinking, but it's like video games and movies and just
a different
pop
kind
culture
of night
stuff.
out.
Yeah, but then also being able to integrate it with people in VR chat, and I was just like, we got a whole bunch of DJs in here.
I don't want to be too critical because everything costs a lot of money. So, someone shelling out the money to make a business like that around here is it's a shot in the dark. And I wish them all the luck. But it's really crazy being in another country where like every other business is something like that. And it's kind of like embraced, and you'll see VR on the news and stuff. You'll see it on NHK, like the nightly news. They'll interview someone in VR and ask their opinion about something. Like they have a regular reoccurring character.
That's wild.
And it feels like a world away from what will happen here. And that's one of the biggest hurdles, even for people in America putting on a headset. It's like that same hurdle of just like getting over yourself and being like, it's okay to look a little silly and have fun. Like life is fun. It can be. I think that's the biggest gap between, what you said, like the portal events and will more people come into our community from it. I hope people can get over themselves because it is fun, right?
It kind of bleeds into the whole like cyberpunk, and because like when that game came out, everyone had these high expectations, and then once they played it, it was like this whole cybernetic thing. But all of the people that don't do video games and they don't do virtual reality, they're still considering virtual reality as Ready Player One. How many years has it been since Ready Player One was a very popular thing? But still having that integration, you're right. Being able to integrate it, I feel like it's going to happen. It's going to happen a lot more, and I think more people are going to kind of feed into it. Same thing with the VTubers. It's just like now there's an abundance of VTubers, and you got a bunch of people that are just like, all right, well, we're going to accept these VTubers.
It's slowly creeping in.
Yeah.
It's slowly creeping in. You know what I mean? And it's like virtual artists has been like a synthesizer thing in a pop culture and music, like Miku and things like that, Vocaloid. That really hasn't come over here as much. I feel like that's another sort of avenue, I guess, people could be Trojan horsed into being a little more open to this kind of stuff. Even that horse, what was that horse game?
Uma Musume.
Yeah, that broke containment too. That was like one of those things that just kind of, it's like, this isn't my style per se, but it's still fun, kind of. And people are like, all right, I'll just get over myself and try to enjoy something different. I
think they're trying to they're going to tie that in with the Year of the Horse. I think that's kind of the reason why they're continuously feeding into it.
Yeah, I don't have any, I watched a few episodes of it actually years ago when it came out. I was like, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it. I'm sorry. I don't know why it even came up, but Someone in chat seems very happy
Oh,
about it.
you were
Zev seems very
yeah.
happy about it.
You were
Sorry,
talking about
Zev.
the integration of like the style of Japanese cultures, of how it's very normal compared to
Right,
what we got going on in
right.
here. And the thing that we were talking about with DJ Chris Sora last week was just that of like in the States, while there is still an underground scene in virtual reality where we're talking about dubstep and rhythm and some of this hard style stuff, even drum and bass is still kind of foreign here. I mean, some people may like it, but like there's still not enough integration with it. Do you think that we're kind of on the right path, or do you think it's still going to be a slow crawl to get there?
Hmm. Uh, I definitely think I can only see slow crawl, you know. I think um as far as I'm concerned, people have been able to keep an eye on this place for all the years it's been here through COVID. I'm pretty sure everybody was keeping an eye on it during COVID. It was quite active. And some people from outside of VRChat were like coming in here and promoting their things they were doing in here during it. And I think if like outside forces thought there was a profit to be made from this place, they would have done it, kind of. They're like, I don't think the limitations in here are a bad thing for us. I think they're a bad thing for people who want to make a hand over fist profit from this place. And sort of the way our community has been, the scaffolding that built it is the people here. So to kind of, and then if you want to come in here and build something new that totally bucks the paradigm, you have to convince everybody here that that's better. That's a tall task, and only big productions like Sanrio or other like top premium events are able to charge ticket fees in here, and they're not exorbitant fees like real life. Going to see a top end show. Um, like the amount of money people are paying for stadium tickets these days is car prices. So to compare like the top level events in here, the only companies that are willing to do it in here are the companies that are willing to uh, just invest for the goodwill of the potential customers in here, the potential, eyeballs or whatever, or mouths that, post about it and repost about it and stuff like that. So um, I definitely think that a lot would have to change in America for it to be anything more than a slow trickle. Like they would have to be okay with investing for a loss. I don't see that too much.
I know it's going to be a slow crawl throughout this entire process. It's been kind of like a slow crawl, but I feel like within the slow crawl, it's given us enough wit and energy to be able to build a really good foundation of what we do in here and be able to show what we do in here and explain what we do in here. And I know when it comes to being able to put a ticketed price on what we do in here is a forever conversation. We're still waiting for that
Yeah.
one person to say, "Hey, this set is going to be worth your money and time because of this. Put down $2." And then people are going to be like, "Well, we'll figure it out. We'll see if that works or not." But I mean, obviously, that's kind of the reason why we have this show to begin with, so we can talk about these topics over time. We're not always looking for an answer right now, but kind of leading ahead of ourselves too is that, again, people from VR are kind of watching, and some of the people that have been asking me a ton of questions about what we do in here, and it always starts with, the first question always starts with is, how much money do you make
Right.
in here? And to be fair, I tell them most of it's tips. Most of it is just like people are generously giving us either a donation or something because we're doing something great, but we haven't actually sat down to generate that. And the real reality, without completely derailing this conversation, is just like you can't start in a club or a bar expecting people to pay cover. You need to go in there and that's how you're going to be able to play with the professional equipment, unless you buy the professional equipment to begin with. So it kind of seems like a catch-22 where it's just like, well, you can learn how to play it on the professional equipment, but you have to bring in people. You'll have people in here, but it's free. Like there's always a catch somewhere about it. And having those topics, continuously talking about those topics here on this program is super important. But obviously, we can't sit here and throw the ball back and forth and define an answer. I would love to. I think it would be great if we could, like, if Paul Manton and Rob Roman's voice sat down and said, "This is the way we do it," and then we do it and it's successful, I would say, sure, let's go with it. But at the same time,
if we could come up with a way to get everyone fairly compensated tonight, I would be very happy.
Honestly, though, I mean, listen, if I have to slap if I were to get a branding from Alpha Theta and slap it on my chest, I totally would, just to get some free stuff and good publicity. But we're not quite there yet. It's VRCDJ Live. We're here with Paul Manton, and of course, it's a live program. And of course, we have people in chat. We got people that are engaging in this conversation. We got a lot of different topics to talk about tonight. So feel free to ask any questions that you choose to about Paul, or about VRChat or making money, and we'll try to answer them as we continue to go on. Yeah, how many tables can you sell? The IRL promotions. That's always an ongoing topic. And funny enough, thanks for the money. Look at that. It's not even.
I was a little late.
Were those Manton bucks?
They were real bucks.
All right. Well, I'll make sure to clean them up. It's been a long time since I've had money thrown at my face. So again, kind of going back to how a lot of people recognize you. They I would assume come up to you and ask you questions about DJing, and you love to go and support the shows and stuff like that. How has it been for like mentoring, as opposed to like having someone going under your wing, but like I would assume that at some point in time, with your DJ expertise and the fact that you continuously promote and people love you, I would only assume that people would approach you with a bunch of questions and stuff, right?
I think most of what I've done in here is teach people how to use Voice Meter and OBS and the like world players. This is how you set your DJing up in this world. This is how you make it so you can hear people talking and it doesn't loop back into your music, that type of thing. And, that crosses language barriers. That's something you can like explain to people, even if you don't speak the same language, which is nice for organizing. But when it comes to DJing, I learned by myself, like just screwing around with DJ gear that was gifted to me by a friend. And I did have one friend who sort of said like, okay, get this software, get Tractor, he told me. And he was like, if you're mixing stuff that's, he's like, if you just want to get started right now and you want to mix stuff together, like this is how you use sync and this is how you use key sync. And he's like, other than that, you're on your own. And he kind of just pushed me into it. And I didn't have DJ music. I had a lifetime of MP3s I collected and albums I bought. And, I started DJing wrong. Let's put it that way. I started DJing with no like push. I just was mashing things together and praying. And it took me a long time to kind of get the hang of anything. So, I mean, there's people I could have asked, but I kind of cherish that time of learning. But I wish there was just somebody around that I could have asked literally any question about DJing. Just one person that like would give me a straight answer.
I want to be able to debunk the myth real quick,
Sure.
because you said the magic word Tractor. What is your opinion on all the different softwares, especially what's available right now compared to what's considered a professional staple?
All right, so I've been using Fruity Loops, FL Studio since it came out, and like I started messing around with Ableton when it came out, and I've used all the DJ software. And I'm that type of person who likes to try like a few different things that people are saying is good to see like what the difference is. And if you start in Serato and work for 2 years, or you start in Tractor and work for 2 years, or you start in Rekordbox and work for 2 years, you're going to wind up in pretty much the same place. And you're not going to be as good on the other ones because there's little differences of each. So it's like some of them, the backspin, scratching or backspin sounds weird or different. And then some sound different with key sync on when you scratch. So those are like little caveats and differences that people don't really talk about or think about when they switch between things, but it will make your DJing sound completely different. And there's no like warning that people say like, oh, before you go to Serato, make sure you think about all these things. Nobody really does that. And that's also going from your home setup to CDJs as well. So it's like, to me, the more time you put into one, the worse you're going to be on the others almost. So it's like, from my perspective, if you're going to wind up playing in the club all the time, you want your home setup to be as close to that as possible. XDJ, CDJ kind of straightforward setup. Or like, if you were lucky enough to get a DDJ 1000, you know, that's kind of like the cheapest option that was sort of like the CDJs and the, you know, the Pioneer mixer. So whenever anybody comes to me wanting to learn how to DJ or anything like that, I'm thinking about all that kind of stuff, right? I don't want to send anybody down a path without them like kind of understanding where they're going with it, right? Like you know, but at the same time, it's also with a very like, music is fun and DJing is fun and you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to be so serious and think of it this way. But if you want to DJ and you want to take it seriously, consider.
I know we talk a lot about the we talk about a lot about the software, a lot about the hardware, and it's funny that occasionally we bring up the idea of bedroom DJ, and it seems like there is some bit of popularity with getting a Flex 4 and either working off a Serato or Record Box. There's a lot of people in here that do Tractor, and I think we're beyond the era of, oh, you were on Tractor, you're no good, or you're on Serato, you're no good. Everything's good. Like whatever you're playing is fine. You know, it's just a matter of practice and kind of getting into it. What the matter of it is, and I want to be able to hit this and quit. I want to hit it and quit it. Because we don't talk about dramas here. We don't talk about things, but we do talk about upcoming issues and how to try to resolve them, especially because of those issues being popular by themselves. I'm going with this being like popularity and understanding popularity in here. And there's apparently there has been some drama of lately that the popularity clout, I guess, is coming back, or the idea that you may be bigger than your britches kind of a thing. I personally haven't seen it in here, so I can't really like, you know, I feel like within my resume, I can explain, okay, this is the reason why, I can be a little cocky. But from what I've been hearing is that there are some DJs that do, have a big cock of the walk. They're like going on swinging the chain and stuff like that. How do you think we can kind of combat that?
I think it's just something that comes along with, people they're doing something they enjoy, and maybe for the first time getting like a lot of positive feedback for it, right? It's like not everybody's ready to ride that high, and whether it continues or not is random, you know. I'm sure you've had nights where you've DJ'd crappy and then people went nuts, and you're like, I don't really understand. It's like there's inconsistent feelings with performing in here, and I think if you're not like enjoying it for yourself, the result of that can come out in a lot of very interesting ways that, uh, you know, um, if you expect a certain level of response to your DJing and you don't get it, that might make you feel negative in some sort of way moving forward, and um, I, I don't know exactly the specific scenario you're talking about, but I feel like if you're performing for yourself, and sharing that with people, and you enjoy doing that, then like none of the other stuff actually matters. I guess there is like always a level of competition among people that's unspoken and just sort of happens naturally. Uh, but I'd say there's also an equal amount of people who are completely turned off by people who act that way. So if you're like if you're trying to like attract people like desperately, like that's not always going to work in your favor. So I think you have a better chance just like desperately doing what you love And then there's a better chance of people being like, I fuck with that person because they fucking love what they're doing and I vibe with that. Even though I don't even really care what they're doing, their energy is just positive and I'm okay with that. You know, I feel like you get more people coming around you acting like that instead of getting upset that everything isn't perfectly your way. I don't know.
I mean, it's good
Like,
that you're bringing it up like that too, because there are a lot of people, especially now, again, like I've been saying, that it always seems that things happen linear in a timeline every year, even if we're shocked to see that it comes back. One of those things being like, okay, people start DJing in February, or they got their consoles at Christmas time, and then between like March and May, maybe going into June, that's when it's like they either push too much, or they get too cocky, or they burn out. Like, don't think that we're not going to be talking about burnout in April, because, like, again, people are getting out of cabin fever. They're getting out of the house. They're smelling the fresh air. Obviously, it's going to be gloomy because of the rain, and then people's emotions are going to be kind of fluctuating. So, of course, we're going to be talking about it because it happens all the time. It happens at least like twice a year.
we need something to do, right?
Yeah,
That's kind of
honestly,
how it
too.
feels.
And also, like, too, like, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because occasionally, and from what I've been seeing on a content creation level in the past several years in VR, is like, you could do a thing. Let's just say you DJ'd for a large club in here. I'm not going to say any particular names, but let's just say we're going to DJ for a really big club. You had a packed instance. You could say that you're a DJ in here, I guess. Or let's just say you opened up Ableton for the first time and you did some blips and bloops. Now you're a producer, I guess. You produced something. But there's been people in here that, like, it's not a matter of it being a role-playing scenario, but it's a matter of, oh, I voiced a couple of lines as Police Officer 2 in a indie video game. I'm a voice actor now, I guess. So it's just like all of that. I mean, obviously there's some trust issues with that, but as we continue to progress with our linear thing, as we do every year, we do have a couple people that, once they push a button on their Flex 4, they are a DJ, I guess. So it's like we want to be able to bring this up because there have been some occasions on social media, people have been kind of bringing up the idea that anybody can DJ. The idea of a bedroom DJ exists because getting jobs at clubs and bars are difficult now. And now it seems like, again, competition to try to be able to bury the hatchet with that. And it's going to be a big old race to see who's going to get the most popularity, because they're going to be like the number one bedroom DJ on the planet or something.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Like I understand professionals gripe with amateurs coming in and like devaluing their craft, like taking money away from them and stuff. But it's um like that alone on its own in a vacuum. Like, I get it. I wouldn't want to be the person undercutting people and taking like a quarter of their fee, just to get them booted out and them not DJing anymore. That's not the right interaction to be, going into a community and DJing with them, I guess. And I think that's what's missing, is when you go play for a place, you're not playing for a community. You're playing for a company. You're playing for a business. And like they hire a promoter who, you know what I'm saying? It feels very removed and disconnected. And it's not just, oh, me and my friends want to rent a place out, and the guy's like, hey, you guys paid, whatever, have fun. That would be a better situation. But to even rent a place out, you need to be proven, right? Or like a place would need to have free time that they weren't making money. So I guess when it comes to people kind of looking at the bedroom producers or people who are just picking it up, if somebody becomes amazing in 10 years and they were just getting shit on this year for getting, poo-pooed on for bragging how good they were when they were new this year, we can compare what they made this year as a new person to their amazing work they do in 10 years and watch their growth. So, like, as much as people who are deep in things want to criticize people who are new and like young at it and inexperienced, it's completely forgetting where they came from. Unless they just were born with natural talent or something like that, which whatever, that happens, I guess. But I don't know, man. We were all kids that knew nothing once. So that's sort of how I look at it.
It's fun. Well, it's not fun, but it's interesting. It's like learning. It's like going to school again and then coming up with a topic that's constantly evolving. And while the answers are kind of there, it's kind of like throwing a puzzle,
Right.
a bunch of puzzle pieces on the table and say, try to make it work.
Right.
But the reason why I'm laughing a little bit is because, like, while we have a lot of people in here that DJ and they have their gripes about not having enough people to watch or not having a lot of interaction with the club, or maybe even the club itself was promoting the idea that if you're going to show up, more people are going to show up. That's all a learning experience. And luckily, there's no money involved with that. It's just a matter of, well, I'm not going to work with this because it's not benefiting anybody the way that you're handling things. But I'm laughing because I think the VRChat DJs in here don't realize that's what's happening IRL. That's what's happening currently with the DJs in the clubs right now. Is just like the promoters with a very limited budget. They're not buying into the middle grade DJ, but they're buying into the bedroom DJ that, you know, has like 5,000 likes on Instagram. Would they think that person does a better job? Maybe not, but they're bringing in people. So it's just
not
like
about who does. It's not about their musical taste. It's not really about like them being like respecting them as an artist or something. You know,
it's frustrating. That's what it is.
And we're lucky that we have places in here where people are like, just play whatever the hell you want. You know, we're having a chill night. You know, whatever. Like, I don't know if people appreciate that aspect as much in here. When I know when I came in here as a DJ, I wasn't aspiring to learn how to play lounge sets and be a utility player and be useful as a DJ. But as I was in here longer and I was around more people who were more experienced than me, I realized, like, I got a lot to learn. I could learn a lot if I just paid attention to all these people in here. Like, you're one of them. You know what I mean? You're someone who does this and that people could learn from if they pay attention. So, that's I appreciate this place for that reason. I can't remember how we got on this topic. I apologize.
I know at some point in time within this interview, we're going to be talking about your genre choice, because I think it's super important to be able to bring up, you know, R&B and Jersey Club, and you know, occasionally you do the hip hop stuff, and you're over at Club Magenta a lot, and obviously that's a really big tool because of the fact that, like, there's so many people that come in here and they DJ and they instantly believe that they have to kind of stick with one particular genre because it's getting the most attention and the most popularity. But you're playing it because it's fun to do, you're having a good time, and you're finding your own crowd that enjoys that particular type of experience as well. And all of that needs to be highlighted, especially for the new people that are coming in here, because I feel like, and okay, maybe I am biting my lip a little bit. The past couple of weekends been kind of heavy focused on hardstyle music or dubstep, rhythm, drum and bass, stuff like that. I know all of them collectively don't work together, but that's the thing too, is like, it begs, I don't want to ask every raver out there what they think about it, because they're enjoying it, and that should be enough. But at the same time, like, I have been kind of seeing that the timeline is like 80% all of these flavors. And it just begs the question, is just like, there's got to be a time where that burnout may happen. And I would hate for it to happen at 80%. You know, I would hate for it to all be like, if everyone's doing hardstyle, then all of a sudden the fall of hardstyle for like a month, and then we go back to disco. You know, like there was a big disco movement for like a couple of months, and it's still kind of popular, but not. I mean, you still play R&B hits and stuff. People ask for throwbacks for me, and I'm just like, is that the reset? Is that what we're doing here? Is that you guys need a little bit of a reset? But obviously we're going to dive into that in a little bit. But I want to be able to get into the meat and potatoes of Paul Manton. I mean, obviously we want to hear your opinions on a lot of different things, but I think a lot of people failed to ask you how you even get in here, what your passions are about. You know, what's what's with the goose. You know, all these questions are super important. But let's break it down real quick. And just be like, how did you even get started with VR chat to begin with? Was it kind of was it a JP scene thing? Was it something you saw online? Were you a gamer before this?
So, I crawled into a computer chair is when it as early as I could. You know, when I was young. As soon as I could get into the computer chair, I was booting it up, and I was, launching games in MS-DOS. And then we got a computer with Windows, and I was programming in BASIC and messing around, and we got dial-up as soon as we could in the early 90s.
What was the
And
games during that time?
the first game I played on a computer besides like the Minesweeper, Windows default ones, was gorillas.bas. It was a BASIC game, and it's like two gorillas on either side of the screen on randomly generated buildings, and you each get a turn to throw a banana with an angle and a trajectory, and you try to hit each other and blow each other up.
That's wild.
And when you load BASIC up, you see the code, and then you would have to hit run. And I figured out like very early on, like, oh, this is the code that runs this game. So if I change numbers, it'll change things. So I was on a computer like really young. I was all into it. And I played, my first online game was Warcraft 2. Played like local LAN with friends in the neighborhood. And then that went to StarCraft, and then Unreal Tournament, Counter-Strike. And by the time Counter-Strike was done for me, it was like 2009. And that's when I graduated college, around that time. So after that, I didn't really play games for a while. I think I played Minecraft somewhere in between 2009 and 2019 when I started VRChat. And that kind of changed the way I looked at games, Minecraft. Kind of recontextualized. Like, when I was a little kid, I used to play, like, NES for hours. Like, till my eyes bled. Played Dr. Mario or Super Mario 3. And I just remember, like, playing Unreal Tournament, playing Counter-Strike, and it being like a very grindy, very like intense, like competitive, like games became like first-person shooters and competitive. And it's like, now when I look at now, I was thinking that back then. I was like, games are really just like a grind. And then World of Warcraft came out back then. All my friends went to play that, and I was like, you guys are crazy. You got like my one friend who went to play WoW, he was like addicted to EverQuest. Was that the name of that game?
Sounds
You know
familiar.
what I'm talking about? I think it was a similar game. And I don't know how my friends got into World of Warcraft, but that's when I was like, all right, I'm done with school. I'm like, I'm not growing up, but like, I don't have as much time to play games anymore. I played Minecraft somewhere in between that time, and I was like, dude, games are the best. Like, I got to get back to playing games that I enjoy. And I didn't really do that, but after DJing on Twitch for a couple of years, I met Jazzy Senpai, the VRCDN creator. Do you know what Tribe XR is?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it's funny. I ran into okay. There's a kind of a wide range of this, but there's a guy named Aaron who created Crate Hackers, who helps out with like creating your crates for Serato and Rekordbox and stuff like that. It's a paid service. I don't think it's a subscription. It's a paid service. I got to meet up with him a couple weeks ago while I was in Vegas. And not only does he advocate for Tribe XR, he loves the show, by the way. He watches the show. So it's funny that I introduced his name is Aaron. Yeah.
Hi, Aaron.
It's funny because like I introduced myself to him, and then I was like, yeah, I host this show, and he's like, well, yeah, but that's a girl, and I'm just like, yeah, but I'm the girl. So he didn't recognize me to begin with, but at the same time, he was mentioning me how he went to Japan for the like the virtual reality DJing competition or something. He scored third place using Tribe XR stuff. So I told him, I'm like, kind of want to have you on the show to kind of talk about the future of what's going on with this, but continue.
So Twitch was the only place like that was a regular like online place you could see live music, and it was kind of where I was practicing, and I have a VOD I could check back and listen back to my DJing. It was much better than saving files and whatever. And there's a small community of DJs who would be in each other's streams, and one of the people was one of the tribe employees, and they happened to ask both Jazzy and I to fill in for a contest that they did, and you didn't need to have tribe to do it. You know what I mean? It was like a DJ contest. It was really low key, but I wound up meeting Jazzy there and Gravekeeper, who's another DJ in VRChat. And Jazzy convinced me to come in here. I was kind of like, you know, I think like it was right around the Uganda Knuckles time. So it was like very in your face on the internet, on YouTube back then. It wasn't too much, but it was like if you did see something about VRChat, it was that stupid like introduction to it, right? So I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I did anyway. And I had so much fun. I was like, it's not like I had so much fun. I think I just immediately saw what everyone enjoys about it. I was like, the potential here is through the fucking friggin' roof. And like, I'm not trying to be critical of what was going on back then, because it wasn't bad at all, because it was like the first couple of years of the game. But it was like everyone was having fun in a literal box of a room with no texture. It was the same tiled texture, black and red, so basic. And everybody was having a blast. And I was like, all the tools are here. Everything is already here for people to make whatever they can think of. So, that's kind of how I got started in it. And it was like, I didn't even realize back then how free we were to do whatever we wanted. You know what I mean? I didn't know world creators had full creativity. I didn't know avatar creators had full creativity. I didn't know if me and you talk for an hour right now, we could come up with an idea for a party, make a world for it, and have like a brand new creation, really come out of nowhere. And I was already sure of the potential of this place. And I wanted to be very careful about, like I told you before, I wanted to be useful, but I also wanted to be very careful not to come in here and like, this is how everybody should be. No, in the real world, people do it like this. And like I knew that was never going to be right. And I'm glad I did, because there's so many cool things that are different in here than real life that I think are better, that are like, and I can't come up with any examples off the top of my head, but it's different here in certain ways than it is in real life. And that's like a benefit of this place. So that's like the basic intro of how I got here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I know when we were talking a lot about it, obviously we want to be able to keep sacred what we have in here and the things that we do. And what's so fascinating to me, and I would assume the same thing for you too, is like almost every week you come in here, there's either something brand new or a new type of concept or a whole new type of idea. I mean, the idea of us just doing festivals in here, it still blows my mind, because now you're kind of leading into the overall greatness of everybody's skills. You got the DJs doing the thing, you got the world creators developing these massive worlds that, with all these moving parts,
right?
You got the VJs and you got the technical people that are literally running all the different visual aspects between setting up UIs and overlays and all sorts of visual effects.
Yeah,
and
shout
stuff.
out to the support people, right?
Yeah,
That's
honestly,
right. That's right.
Those guys, and even stuff like what Googie Records is doing, like all of the visual in-world stuff, all the trippy stuff that's going on here. Obviously, it can be a little displeasing for people that have a visual like thing kind of going on, but they could turn it off. But it's still extremely, it's so interesting for me. But I kind of want to ask you, just off the record, well, not off the records because it's on the record, but off the cuff, is just like, since things were so easy back then compared to how technical it can be now, what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, obviously people are wanting to do better, bigger things,
right?
And again, we're always in a circular pattern where we kind of come back and say, what are we really doing this for? Is it a hobby? Because you sure are making a lot of stuff and you're spending a lot of resources and time and energy to put something together for a hobby, for it to be this massive project.
I definitely, I am someone who I try to like donate my time and my energy and and my DJing, I guess, and organizing, I never make worlds or make avatars and stuff. I can do a little bit of 3D work, so I have like a small idea of what people go through to do these things. But the worlds have gotten so much more complex. When I first got here, we didn't even have like audio reactive anything. That was created at DDVR. I was there the day that someone demoed it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like the next." It's like there's people who are like, "Oh, my audio reactive isn't working. Like my night's ruined now." Like it's like a totally normal thing, and it's like I remember when that was brand new. It's from my perspective, it should have always been in here, but you know what I mean. This is a very rudimentary game, and everything in here is made by the people, so it wasn't going to come until somebody made it. And now I can only imagine, the avatar creators, they have more resources than ever in terms of, places to get assets and stuff and, learning, whether it's YouTube videos or, communities and different people who are willing to help. But I can't imagine it's much easier for them. The expectations are high. I know world creators, want to impress people, and it's got to be difficult because you put so much time and effort into a world, and then it becomes kind of like a museum afterwards, if you even keep it open. So I guess I've seen some world creators sort of, they debut a new world for a special event, and then they open it to the community as like an open space that anyone can throw a party at. I like to see that, but it also feels a little sad too, because keeping a great new world made for something special going requires you to keep something going, and that's a lot of effort too in itself. So at least it can become something that the community can use, right?
The passions in here are incredible, especially when it does come down to, again, we have very select individual either festivals or events or DJing for a specific purpose or something. We've seen it from time to time. A lot of world creators are creating different maps that are just used once or reimagined maybe even a year later to do something even better. But it's fascinating because, again, there's a lot of people that are putting in a lot of attention and a lot of time and effort. And all I've ever wanted, as well as you and a lot of people in our community, all we've ever wanted for them to do is to package it up, portfolio it, and be able to use it. And I feel like people have been getting better at it. Obviously, people have been putting out social media. It actually wasn't until last year that I was at the Winter Music Conference in Miami, which we'll be trying to broadcast there from this year too. Don't think that we're not. Where they brought up the fact that most of the social media that they're interacting with, besides Facebook, is Instagram and SoundCloud. And once I heard that information, boy, oh boy, did I want to put it in the hands of the DJs in VRChat, because their passions, we want them to continue to be able to showcase the betterment of themselves, but also feed into real life, trying to think of the word for it, but like real life involvement. And how they want the attention of the record labels. They want the attention of social media to say, hey, I produce this. Hey, we have this. Hey, we have a massive world that does DMX lighting and stuff like that. I want those people to be seen. And a lot of the time, I feel like they kind of slip through the fingers if they don't put together a portfolio for that. But again, circling back, that's all finite stuff in the middle. But circling around, you're just saying to yourself, we're just doing it because it's a hobby in here.
Right. It's definitely interesting because you see a lot of people in here do high grade work, so you know what they're capable of, right? And you know if they were given a real shot, they would probably perform pretty well, right? And probably above, maybe even above expectations. So I like to see, whether it's DJs, artists, VJs, world creators, if they are able to pole vault their work in here into real life action and work, that just serves as an example for everyone else who's working hard, that, you know, it might not be that exact same thing that they're able to do themselves, but it is possible. We've seen many examples of different people turn their ideas into reality in here in tangible ways. You know, even just something like ShelterCon. You know, that's something very simple and obvious that we can point to and compare it to other festivals and, you know, meetups and cons and kind of say like, for VR chat, that's freaking impressive, right? Like it looked like $1,000,000 every time, and it's like there's nobody. I've known 2TD for over a decade now. I've been listening to his music for longer than that, listening to him DJ longer than that, and he came in here after me. No one told him to do this. No one told him he could or couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody. He didn't come in here and say, I'm going to make the biggest thing and I'm going to do a con. It's just like he had an idea. He did it. You know, he got people together to help him do it. You know, he built a community to do it, and they did it. And now there's so many people in our community who can not only, you know, agree with what I just said, that they did it, but they can point to memories that they made and friendships that they made and achievements that they were able to accomplish, you know, in the, I don't want to say in the shadow of what Shelter did, but sort of in the you know, basking in what Shelter did. Other people are able to do their own things too after watching what 2TD and Kai and the team did, you know? And
Yeah.
that inspiration could come from just visiting and realizing it's possible, or it could come from being booked, or it could come from seeing your friend booked and you just started DJing. You're like, they just started DJing 2 years ago and they played Shelter, you know, and you know, maybe to outside people who look at us all as bedroom DJs, that means nothing, but it's no different than the same feeling you would have playing in a real club. You know, you see your friend play in a real club and you go, oh, he sucked a year ago. I could do this. You know, it's the same thing in here, right?
It's so interesting, especially with Shelter as well, because like 2TD, we had him on the program, and he, you know, again, one hell of a guy, really nice dude. And
Definitely.
being able to explain his passions and the things that he wants to do. One of the things that he mentioned to me that occasionally slips through the fingers sometimes is like he says that he's doing this without a manager. It's just him, his
Mm.
networking, and his connections. And outside of, if anybody hasn't been able to know the guy or talk to the guy, they might seem kind of jealous about his successes. But you can't knock the fact that this dude is hustling. You know, he's like posting stuff on social media. He's talking to all these
Yeah.
people. He's putting together these shows, which again is just all community driven based off of the love of the music, which is fantastic. But like again, what I'm finding that can be really tough for him as well, and I think a lot of people can relate to this as well, is just like I'm sure he's frustrated enough that he's got this amazing this amazing product and it's doing so well, but just as you were saying too, is that like you got festivals. I would only assume that some of these festivals have seen some of the stuff that gets put on in here. I would assume that they've seen what Shelter's
Yeah.
been up to. I would assume that they see that the DJs in here are winning. But it's a tricky ticket because it's just like even the same thing with Markiplier. When Markiplier came out with his box office smash, and then like a week later, all of those numbers were off of the box office like top 10. They removed it because they were afraid that an indie solo movie filmmaker director is going to get all the money that the record labels aren't getting, or um the movie makers aren't getting. So it's kind of similar to that, where it's just like this is a really tricky business right now, because again, the business model of it is we're going to come in here and we're going to perform and have a good time, but people are really kicking butt, and they're making all these huge things to like really represent what we do in here. And I feel like the IRL scene is having a tough time because I don't want to say they have boomer energy where they're just like, well, that's not how it's always been done, you know? And then they get like these new kids that are coming in doing some really great things and testing the boundaries of things. Obviously, they're thinking about money. We're thinking about
Mm.
money too. You would think that we would both say the word money, and hopefully something somewhere down the line that all of that could be represented. Um,
I
let,
think
Go ahead.
I think with you know, his outlook probably is more towards the perspective of what I was saying before, which is in order to succeed in here, like if a company wanted to invest in here to advertise, they would have to be willing to do it at a loss. And that's sort of how you have to carry yourself in here too. Like, how are you coming in here expecting to to operate at a profit in here? Nobody is. So your best bet is to do something in here where you can, if you want to springboard it out into real life, whether it's getting a job doing it or getting booked or, interacting with artists, without, I can't speak for 2TD, but him interacting with VRChat is better than him being a Twitter poster or an Instagram poster to me. And I can't be the only person who thinks that. I would appreciate much more if everybody who spent all their time posting on social media trying to get attention was busy building community, like busy making music, DJing, doing what they like to do. Other stuff comes with that, and it's life. It's hectic running anything. But if your main focus is like building stuff and doing stuff and creating stuff and supporting it and supporting the people around you, like, people are attracted to that. So I think somehow that ties together in my brain. Possibly.
Where do you see the breaking point? Because I feel like, and I'll give you a little bit more context, there's some people in VRChat that are continuously doing what people are expecting them to do. Just perform, have experience, get the experience, and at some point in time, all of that experience and skill will lead up to a specific point where there could be a potential for money,
Right,
or outside opportunities. Do you have a good opinion on when that breaking point should happen?
I think it's going to be it's going to be too different for every type of person. Like, for me, I only got really interested in DJing and kind of like EDM, let's say, quote unquote, dance music. It's stuff I listened to before I DJ'd, but it wasn't stuff I was downloading and digging, right? So once I started DJing, um, I kind of came into this in a way where you got to give me the question again, Rob.
Sure, I got
Yeah,
you.
I got
Sorry.
off the mark there.
It's a tricky question because, like, you got a lot
I
of
had
people.
a good answer.
Yeah,
I got off my mark.
it's there's a lot. It's a lot to develop in a small amount of time where you're being like, well, I want to say something, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to be untruthful. The idea that things could happen much quicker as what you would think it does. But
Okay.
yep.
All right. So, I'll just talk about my involvement in the music scene in a general way. When I started DJing like 11 years ago, and a little bit before around that time is when I sort of discovered like the SoundCloud scene, we'll call it, quote unquote. And that's like, today, 25% of the friends I made from back then are still doing music. And there's like 10% of those people are in VRChat from around the world. So did I know those bridges I was building 11 years ago, like liking people's tracks or talking to them on Twitch, or, just doing the littlest amount of support, commenting on people's songs or talking to them on Twitter or something like that? Did I know 10 years later it was going to be like a step once? I don't want to say that was my opportunity and my chance, but like, by just sticking with it all these years, it became possible, right? And that's like a doing good work over time, I guess. It's not like I was doing anything special, but I wasn't going backwards. Like, I wasn't causing trouble. I wasn't, disruptive force. Stayed out of trouble, kind of thing. And it's like, after all those years, it's like, hey man, that guy's always been around. That guy Paul's always been around. Like, I remember him from all those years ago. It's like, oh, Paul's still around. you know, liking tracks, supporting things. And it's like I wasn't doing that for anything all those years. But once all these communities came together in VRChat, I was like, oh shit. Like that's the payoff moment. Like now it's like all these people remember me from just what to me is totally normal. Just being kind and being appreciative. Oh, I like this track. Oh man, oh hey, I liked all your music. I never had a chance to talk to you before. Like that's just how all this built up. So I think to kind of apply that to your question, it's like you don't know what you're going to be doing now, how it's going to affect what's going to be going on in the future. But like if you want something, you know, if you want a chance for something, then just keep taking steps forward, you know, in doing what you like and enjoy. Then you'll have a better chance later of being able to like cash in on that, I guess, whatever that means to you.
I'm going to double down with that and say this is a tough pill to swallow, but like as you were saying, being able to do this for about 10 to 12 years, you're on SoundCloud, those are the years. Same thing in here. If you were to come in 2019, literally 7 years of being in virtual reality, you know, that's 7 whole years of being able to do that. And take a look at 2TD and Shelter. I'm sure Shelter's been around for much longer, but you know, 2TD's been kind of grinding, doing stuff, I would say, for about 12 to 15 years, give or take. I mean, depending on where he started music.
No, I want to say he's been DJing for 20 years. I think he's been DJing and throwing parties for like 20 years. I think he was like young in Phoenix, like just throwing parties all the time. And then he moved to LA. And I think he's literally been DJing for 20 years at this point. I don't quote me, but it's closer to that number than yeah.
So the tough pill to swallow is we get some of the new kids that are in here and they're looking to chase glory. They're looking to get popularity. Is it a weird tough pill to swallow saying that it's going to take you much longer than 6 months for you to kind of get somewhere, I guess?
I I I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, you know, coming in here, I guess it depends on what your goals are, you know. What you've been exposed to in here would be what defines your goals, right? If you come in and see one of the craziest things in here, you know, you go see like Ghost Club or Shelter first time, maybe you're a DJ and that's your goal. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think like VRChat would be a pretty good place to like be a new person and have that feeling, because like I think it's more attainable. I think everybody's more on a level playing field in here, where, you know, um, when me and him met up in here, I had been DJing a while, but I didn't have much in real life experience. He was DJing for, you know, 12, 13 years by the time we met up in here. Actually, he's been a DJ longer than that. But anyway, when we're in here, we're just two people talking. You know, if I saw him at a club, the only time I would see him in a club would be if he was playing in real life. Otherwise, I would never bump into him because we're from opposite sides of the country. So it's super rare for us to have a moment of just chilling, right? And uh, you know, we get to know each other out of that context because we're not always at a show in VRChat. You can just be here like me and you right now. And I think everybody has that opportunity in here, right? Being new. So uh yeah, like I I am happy that I got a lot of experience here alongside when I was starting to play in real life. I think this place is a little better place to like have people hate what you're doing. It's a little more comfortable being in your room than like being in front of people visibly not enjoying what you're doing. But I think that's something everybody needs to go through if you're going to actually do this, right? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have technical problems. You're going to play something the people that asked you to play didn't like. Someone there is going to have a problem and let you know. You know,
But it's so much easier for you to go to bed. Like you could always just turn off your computer and be like, I'm done with this.
Right. Yeah, like you can turn the volume down. You know, I know, and like maybe you do need to feel it in real life, but I don't know if everybody's ready to get there like while they're doing something they really enjoy. I don't think everybody's built like that to take criticism to their face, like from someone who just does not give a dang what they think. So I do I don't know how that related to your question. I think you're asking like if like people want to aspire to be a lot in here, but I don't know.
I mean, there's tons of questions that we can kind of talk a lot about within the community, and again, the questions are all valid. So don't think that like us just kind of going off on a little tangent about what is important in here is not anything that anybody wants to talk about. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to talk about these openly, as opposed to just like, oh, we'll just push it aside until it until it becomes a problem, and then we have to kind of talk about it. But hey, you know, that's kind of the reason, especially at the beginning of the year. You got a lot of people that are paving the way going into summer and fall and winter that they're gonna really need to sit down and kind of reconsider the things that they want to do. If they want to produce, they want to DJ, be a little bit more involved with the community. Maybe they want to pick up a different skill. There's lots of different avenues in here, and it's fun to be able to just kind of nitpick them and kind of talk a lot about them and try to get people a little bit more involved. It's VRCDJ Live. We're sitting in with Paul Manton, kind of breaking down a lot of different things. And I think a lot of people at home are wondering, why a goose?
All right, so there's an avatar creator named Pickle Barrel, one word, and if you search worlds in VRChat for goose avatars, there's a world called Goose Avatars, and it's just one model, very simple. I'll switch into it really quick. One moment, please. All right, so this is a public avatar. You might have to move your camera.
Oh yeah, I
a little
see.
short. So this is every model that he made is just this model, and with a different set of clothing on it. It's a public
It seems
avatar.
like the black cat goose.
I mean, it could be. Honestly, I'm not positive. I haven't been there in a long time. I got to be honest with you. It's been years. I apologize, community. I haven't had a reason to be there in a long time. So yeah, this is a public avatar that anybody can go grab, and I went and grabbed it in 2019. Just a friend of mine, she was getting her VR set up, and I'm a normal desktop user, so I can boot up VRChat in a moment's notice. But if I'm meeting up with someone that's getting in VR, usually I'm the first one in waiting, right? And they were like, "Hey, I want to get a goose avatar." So I took it upon myself to search for some worlds, and I found this world. So I got in the world, looked at a couple of them. One had big muscles, one had a bra and, a big chest, some silly, silly meme avatars. But I saw this one, I said, this is the funniest one. It's not that funny, but for me, it was funny. And I guess compared to a lot of the avatars in 2019, it was very different. And even today, it's just very... I think I take this sort of stance of like, I like my avatar to be funny, but I don't want it to be like too ridiculous. So like this feels like a nice medium. And I also take this stance of like, you can be anything you want in here. So I figured I'd be something like unique-ish. The goose doesn't really mean much to me, but I gotta admit it's grown on me. And so has the color yellow.
I mean, it's pretty. I mean, as far as like, branding yourself as a specific color. I mean, I'm seeing you orange right now, but I'm not sure if that's just a world thing or.
Yeah, it's like a school bus kind of. It's like an East Coast school bus, kind of yellowy orangey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what to call it, but it's like that color.
I know there's an actual like hex color for the school bus color that has its own little thing, but
Pantone
that's pretty.
Swatch.
That's pretty. There you go. It's pretty unique. But speaking about unique, Paul Manton, do you put the goose as part of your branding? How did you just decide that Paul Manton was going to be your DJ name as well?
All right, so when I DJ'd in here, I didn't have. I'm going to be honest with you. In 2019, when I got here, I don't think every DJ was like locked into their avatar being their avatar. It was more of like kind of an open-ended thing. People weren't creating their own stuff as much back then. There was only a few people who made custom stuff. Everybody was using default avatars that came, like you could switch into that came with VRChat, quote unquote. But for the most part, back then, not everybody was using like for instance, a DJ that was DJing in 2021. If I saw their avatar then, it would be probably pretty similar to today because people have kind of kept that going, like have chosen their branding style, I guess. But when I got here in 2019, everybody just kind of felt very open-ended, and it wasn't like their pictures were on posters and stuff like that. It was less, um, there's less like posting about it. It was all just like in the Discord, kind of like text, like here's our party, and the poster would have people's names. Um, so when I got here, I was just using a default avatar, and that went on for about from like no, the end of summer 2019 to like summer 2020. And that's when the JP community and the US community sort of splashed together. And when I first started going to their shows, their DJs would have like an avatar for when they weren't DJing and then when they were, and it would be like their headphones around their neck, and then when they were DJing they'd switch into another avatar where their headphones are on their head. And I was like, oh, their pictures are all on the posters, like these people are really branding it. And it just so happened that I switched into the Goose avatar like I had been joking around in it wearing it. And since I'm in desktop, I don't really see myself. So if I close the game and I change into another avatar, I'll load into the game and walk around until someone says like, why are you a train? And I completely forgot that happened. So when I walked into the JP community, I was a goose. I think actually the first time I went there, I was like a dog, like a Scooby weird dog. And then the goose kind of just stuck. Like people would call me Goose. And I was like, oh. So it was like a happy accident actually.
But like DJ Goose didn't really like
No,
ring for you.
it was more like you know, it was memorable. Like they were like, Paul's the goose. Like that's the guy who's the goose. You know what I mean? And I was like, and before that, I didn't really have an avatar that I kind of vibed with. So I was like, I'll stick with this one. It just kind of stuck. Uh, I think like, I think I saw like someone from the Japanese community referring to me as the goose on Twitter or something like that. And I was like, oh, so they see me as this. Because I don't really, like I said, I'm in desktop. I'm not sitting here like looking at myself in the mirror and actualizing myself in the avatar. I definitely have been in VR and understand that, but
You're also not sitting there dressed cosplaying as a goose while you're in VR.
Oh, no, not at all. No, no, no.
Okay.
It's it's like I think it's great. I completely embrace it, but I think like most people in my real life would be like, "What? Like what do you mean?" Not that I care. It's just like it's a very odd and interesting thing that I find like the weirdness of it the best part.
Now, as far as your name's concerned with Paul Manton, was that a choice, kind of like a Calvin Harris or like a Steve Aoki, or did you think of some other type of a DJ name that you could have had?
So my real name's Anthony, and I told you I played a lot of online video games, like competitive games. I played Counter-Strike for a long time with a bunch of my friends, and one of our friends that we met online was a kid from Quebec named Jean Pierre, and he refused to call me Anthony. He would only call me Anton. So at that time, I didn't really have like an internet handle that I was using in Counter-Strike, so I was using Anton, and our team was PM, like our initials. And when we'd sign up for leagues, you have to use letters and numbers only to sign up on the website. And my username was PM Anton. So a bunch of friends that we would play online, we would play on LAN, local LANs in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey and stuff. And one time we were all chilling together, and one of our kid from another team who was our good friend asked my name was Paul. And he's like, yeah, Paul Manton, like PM Anton, P Manton. And my friends on my team just thought it was like the funniest thing ever. I didn't think it was that funny, but everybody started calling me Paul after that. It was just like a group of us online. So
So do
my
you think
DJ
that
name
have we
is
been saying your
really,
name incorrectly this entire
there's
time?
really no right way to say it. I got to be honest with you. It's not a real name. It's not my name. It's not, you know what I mean? It's a silly internet name that just so happens to be a simple, easy to say, like phonetic. My real name, my last name's 12 letters. I'm Italian. So if I used my real name, it would be like people would look at me as a completely different type of DJ. If I used my real name, they'd be like, "What, does he play house? You know, he's like an Italian guy."
Yeah, the
You know,
second
so
question would be like, "Oh,
I
you must be Italian." Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's all this stuff is like a happy accident. I didn't pick this name to be DJ. I actually started using this name first, like when I was making music, but I was just kind of messing around. So when I started DJing and I started like actually DJing, I was like, I guess I'm just rolling with this name. So I mean, it's been all right.
So this is going to
So
seem like a kind of a complicated twisty turny journey that we've got going on here. Not to feed into like you're Italian, but at the same time, like understanding your role within the JP scene and in the stylings of the genres that you perform. Take us on a journey, bro. I want to hear how you're able to connect all of this
okay,
because it seems like you have it pretty locked down tight with the Japanese community. But for a lot of us, we're always thinking kawaii, sugoi, get the music going. That's fast anime music. But
right,
we also recognize that they also love hip hop too.
right. Okay, so I started out. My parents played uh, like Jimmy Buffett, Kenny G, Earth, Wind and Fire, The Four Tops, Sade. They played that kind of music around the house. It was like classic rock, like funky stuff, bands, kind of that kind of stuff was going on around my house. And then the radio stations when I was a kid were 1035 KTU, which was like a great New York dance station.
Top 3 station in the country.
Great DJs on
Beat
it.
in New York, yeah, of
We had Z100, 100.3, which
course.
they were like more popular than KTU in terms of listeners, but it was more like poppy, but still like the music in the early 90s was crazy when I look back on it. And then also there was a roller rink near me that had good DJs that like everybody had birthday parties there every year, so we were always there. Like it was the first time I saw DJs like in the wild, let's say, you know? And like I had no idea what was going on. I never saw in the DJ booth. Like it was way up. It was like it was like 10 feet above my head. It was 1,000 feet above my head in my head. But like I was always so curious about what was going on in there. And same time, MTV's, our entire childhood. And the craziest thing to me was rap music. I was just blown away. It was so different than everything else that was going on. And I think at like the end of elementary school, I heard a rap song where I was like, "Oh my god, I know that this is not their song. Like I know this old song. Like this is not their song." And that's kind of when I realized sampling was going on, and I was like, "Oh, this is insane." Within a couple years, that Fruity Loops came out, FL Studio came out, so I was messing around making music. I was making music for Newgrounds games before it was a user submitted site. When you used to have to email them your game, and like they would like put out calls for music for these random games people would make, and I used to send them loops I'd make and stuff. So that's how I like started with music, started making music with my friends, started making rap music with my friends and stuff like that. So that's how I got on SoundCloud, right? Someone pointed me to a Twitch stream from SoundCloud, and I met some people, and that person wound up being friends with a kid who was studying abroad from Japan. And that's a label owner from Japan, Seimei, who DJ, track maker, label owner, and those guys and other people from their orbit are friends of mine that wound up in VRChat in 2020. So it's like I got here after knowing them for all that time, and I had just been DJing, like practicing in my room for, years, playing out a little bit when I could, playing at conventions or playing at little things. And all of my music tastes kind of came together when I met those guys on Twitch. They were bringing like video game music together, like club music, like rap music, trap music, footwork, Jersey Club, and this is like 2012, 13, something like that, maybe 2014 at latest. So I met all of them doing all that back then. I brought in the music taste I told you when I was a kid. And I spent like 2015 till 2019 just DJing that type of music basically by myself and just trying to figure out like how I could put stuff like that together. And the influence from like the Japanese side was really interesting because, like you said, people do think of the kawaii music and like the J-core stuff and like that type of music, mashcore, kind of breakcore, more in that general direction, I guess. But I was noticing a lot of different track makers sort of making styles of other countries with like big respect is the best way I could describe it. You could tell they really like listened to it, internalized it, and they're like, okay, I could do this different. Like I could add this to this. And that's what I kept noticing. And that's I guess I'm glad I noticed that about them because now I notice that about other things where it's like I used to just kind of go around what was popular here. And that's kind of based on like what's around you. Instead of now where it's like I try to dig into things more in a way where um, I'm trying to see where people came from and why they're doing it. Right? Like why would someone from another country want to make like a style of music from New Jersey? Why are people from Japan making music that was made in Newark, New Jersey?
I was gonna
25 minutes
say,
from me.
I feel
Like,
like there's a popularity for b-boy stuff within
mhm.
Japan. Is that still kind of relevant?
Yeah, well, rap, Jersey Club makes perfect sense in Japan because rap is so popular there. It's just, it's just another, just another thing that's similar. Why wouldn't people like it? Like it's to me, it's a no-brainer. Um, there's so many things in Japan with rap going on where you'd feel like you're transported right back to the late 90s or early 2000s. Like it feels like that same, like they're really serious. I don't want to make it sound too serious, but like I think when people in the United States are kind of like, oh, the scene isn't great here, like it is really great there. That's they're like dancing. They got the whole thing together. And even the people in VRChat who do the rap stuff, there's a group Croak, Krowk. They're two rappers who perform VRChat and they have albums and we perform together in Japan and they're insane. They have a big following of people who come see them live. And Gentagawa is like a great DJ. We got a lot. There's a lot. Ebby. There's a lot of really good Japanese DJs who play hip hop in here. And they also appreciate like I'm always surprised what stuff they play that I know from here, American hip hop. They're always very like they are so much deeper into what we have than I could ever be into what they have there. I don't even know how I would become like I just don't know. So um that's kind of my genre influences though is just I came into it liking a lot of different music, and I came into it not really having a goal of what type of DJ I wanted to be. But from back then till now, I just keep hearing more different stuff that I haven't heard before that I like. So I can't see myself stopping that anytime soon.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like,
say, like, just thinking about this entire process, like, it seems like such a made for movie kind of journey that you've been kind of going
really?
through. Oh, kind of, because like I mean, I can't speak for a lot of other performers or entertainers in here. I'm kind of going through the same thing where I'm just like I'm performing for more anime conventions than I am
Right.
for like tech house or EDM style top 40 that I've been wanting to do. I mean, obviously I have some experiences with that, but like I still get picked up to do anime conventions. So it's challenging me because I'm just like, I don't just watch anime all the time, but at the same
Right.
time, like I'm not denying that I enjoy it. It's not the passions that I'm wanting to do. So my question for you is just like, are you happy where you are right now? And obviously this isn't where you wanted to be. Where would you have wanted to be?
All right. So I was totally content DJing in my room to less than 20, 10 people on Twitch. I was totally content. So anything extra that came from VRChat, it was a complete surprise, right? And um so I can't really, like, maybe someday without VRChat, maybe I would be playing DJing in Japan and knowing people from Japan somehow, but um I can't really imagine, like, it accelerated everything so fast because we all wound up in a same place together where we could talk. So it's, I don't know, it's hard to put my finger on.
I think the best thing the best takeaway from this from your experiences is just that of networking. And I think a lot of people, if they were to try to figure out the next steps, because you have a lot of DJs in here that are just they're so focused on DJing, they're so focused on maybe showing what they do and the music that they enjoy, but the other part of it that we all tend to say out loud is this is virtual reality chat. And there's a lot of
Mm,
people in here that just they get their social norms ahead of themselves to the points where they're just like, oh, I'm too intimidated to talk to someone,
right,
or they're scared to go to Publix. I know everyone's scared to go to Publix, but I think a lot of people need to recognize all the different things that you can do, such as switch your avatar, maybe switch to a user icon rather than a trusted or known or whatever. Maybe make a second account so nobody really would know who you are. Maybe role play while you're in there. But that's the scary exciting. It's like dating, I guess. It's just it's scary and it's exciting at the same time to be able to network. But the way that you were explaining it was just like it seems like a match made in heaven. It's like actually getting your dessert, where you've been working with all these people online, and then all of a sudden, instead of being able to travel everywhere, you could just be in one place chatting with everybody front face to face, while also continuing that conversation that you started literally like years ago. But when
right,
it comes to the hobby part of it in here is, um, I mean, it is one thing to kind of join discords, and we encourage people to do that. You know, join discords, join groups, clubs, get to know the staff there, get to know the people in there, because the one thing that it's a hard takeaway for me to explain is, in college, one of the main reasons for college outside of getting educated is so you can meet your future colleagues,
mm,
especially for those people that are in the same study. You know, whether you're working at a specific degree or a
right.
specific
Got
whatever.
to learn how to work together.
Yeah, and on top of it too, like not everybody can get the college experience to be able to party network or work with someone that's, regular colleagues. So in here, we treat that the same way as like the entertainment business is to follow. It's a matter of we have like-minded things. And I'm already jumping the gun because I think a lot of people in here, when they think of networking, they're thinking of business opportunities where everybody can collaborate with each other. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Not every business opportunity, not every colleague needs to like collaborate.
Right.
Everybody calm down. Like, I think I was just gonna be
Exactly.
like, everybody in the comments are gonna be like, oh my gosh, Rob's gonna say this thing, and I'm like, no. So you could still be friends and colleagues. You don't have to work together. You could share the same values and enjoy each other. You could hold hands and skip off into the sunset and be okay with that. You could share an ice cream cone and that's fine. Like you don't have to reinvent the ice cream cone. You could just be like, let's share this and have a good time with it.
I agree.
So, but that's the thing, is just like the way you were explaining it is, I think a lot of people in here need to kind of carry on with that idea of like, performance is great. The networking needs to happen a little bit more on an easygoing level that I would probably put down as the same thing as like, how much does a polar bear weigh enough to break the ice? Keep it silly, keep it more formal and a little direct, but like not too terribly serious, unless for some reason, like I think well, I forgot what the actual meme was, but they were like trying to get someone involved. As soon as they get them involved, you got the guy behind the screen being like, "We got him now! Like he's fully invested. He's in it now." It might have been a SpongeBob thing, but like it just it resonates with me so much, because I think that as soon as that one instance that we talk, all of a sudden we're best buds and like we can work together. And I think a lot of people need to quit that while they're ahead in here, and they just need to go, "Hey, why don't you come in and just be friends with people and talk to people about things?" I think that's the first perfect step in this long laundry list of things to do in here, is networking.
Yes, definitely. There's, you know, if you don't live in a city, chance of you having a lot of people around that are like into the same things as you and interested in moving in the same directions as you, it's going to be limited. So in here, you have a great opportunity to be around people like that, be around people who are on your same wavelength, on your same pace, kind of. And there's kind of like communities for every little thing in here, right? So I think in a weird way, like a non-traditional way to ingratiate yourself into communities. Like if you want to DJ, for instance, I guess a lot of people would think, oh, I need to go like bug all the club owners and bug all the DJs and find out like, how do I do this and that's not a wrong, that's a good way. You go and learn and you figure it out and scout it out. But there's like non-traditional ways. Like there's people who DJ for dance events every weekend. They're booked every weekend, like for like breakdancing, you know? And it's not like the biggest club in the game or something, it's not like some prestigious thing in other people's eyes, but they have something that they love to do every weekend. Uh, maybe like you were talking about the bar in Vegas, you know, the bar in Vegas has a VRChat instance. Maybe they need someone to do like lounge DJing or whatever type of music they need. Like, I don't know if that's an opportunity for real, but like there's other places that you can do your thing in here in a non-traditional way. You can go perform like busking. You can go DJ in public worlds. You know what I mean? And try to get a reaction that way, or see if you can like, make people actually listen to what you're doing. Um, and the networking side of that is really underrated because, when I first got in here, I was hyper focused on like the music and learning how everything worked and how is this organized. And, I'm looking behind the curtain as much as I can. But as this community grew, like obviously it was bigger when I got here. I just didn't know about it, but like it's expanded outward in every way now, where there's little communities for everything. So your only method to get involved is not the thing that you do. The only thing that I had to offer was not DJing. So like that's not my only way to network, is going up to people and saying, "Hey, I can DJ for your club." You know, you can be useful in other ways, and I guess that's a form of networking too, right? It's like you said, it's not you don't have to build something together, but you're kind of like you have to kind of like make it aware that you're active in the community, right? Like you can come and just participate and join, but there is that opportunity to network and kind of interact with people. And I've seen a lot of people who start out as sort of quiet or mute type people take that plunge in here because it is an inviting place, I think. Uh, it can be intimidating when you get here because you don't really like understand the order of things. But after you're here for a while, you realize everybody's just kind of chilling on their own time. And you're like, oh, like maybe it isn't bad and I can interact here and I can network here and I can talk and people won't like jump down my throat like anytime I try to be myself in real life, which is what it can feel like when all you do is like school and work and family, right? Like there's no other place for people to kind of like be themselves and decompress. So I think that's what you're talking about. Like people just need to take a step back and just be like, oh, it's cool. I can just be myself in here.
I think it's fun to be able to test the boundaries a little bit, because if you do test the boundaries, and let's just say that you get a bad experience because someone's like, whoa, chill. It's like kind of the moment where you walk up to when you walk up to a DJ and you're just like, I too am DJ, and at the same time they're doing a thing and they don't have enough time to like, all right, well, let's see your Instagram. Like you could find time outside of the DJing to ask those types of questions. But I find it even more rewarding to be able to work on whatever you're doing and just be peaceful with it. And then at some point in time, someone's bound to find you out and go, why are we not promoting this guy? And you're just sitting there going, like, I'm just, you know, I want it to be natural. I don't want to I don't want to be pushing anything. But I think that there's something so magical about that, being able to be like, this is what I do. And then some passionate people in the community are like, well, let's get you some more sunshine in the area and the community that will also reciprocate back to you on that idea. We are running a little bit short on time. I want to be able to hit these topics before we're done with the show tonight.
Yeah.
It is VRCDJ Live. We're sitting in with Paul M. Anton.
That's right.
That is the proper way of saying it, but we're gonna. I would assume Paul Manton is always a very fun thing to say. But I want your 2 cents on the JP DJ scene in here. I feel like not enough people go to Club Magenta to be able to experience some of the fun events that goes on in there. And I know that seems to be a very popular choice for what happens in there. But in your opinion, what is the DJ scene, the DJ JP scene, look like in VRChat currently?
Currently, it's big as ever, busy as ever. Sanrio just had events last weekend and 3 weekends ago. They had some great performers. They did one event that was all VRChat DJs, which was awesome. I love to see we were talking before about sponsors and people, other companies coming in from outside. Uh, at, Basically any thing I imagine coming from an outside company would have to have some sort of big like selling point, like a big outside artist or something. So to see a company like Sanrio have full trust in the existing performers in the community and being like, yeah, we would just want to do a party, no frills, it's a Sanrio DJ party. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Besides that, you know, to sum them up, they're really like professional. They organize their things really well. Like if you're on the DJ side of things, you see the way they like organize and group everything together in a group chat and make sure everybody's got the times and everything's all good. Uh, I'm really happy to see like how many English speakers getting involved. International people getting involved in their community. It's still something that goes on to this day. Uh, Magenta's great. Akai Sarah, he'd be someone really great for you to interview. I don't know if he would be. I don't want to make promises, but I feel like he would be such a great person. I don't know if he's been brought up on this before, but Akai Sarah is a DJ from Japan and an organizer from Japan. I met him the first few times I went to Japanese events, and he clocked really quickly that I was American. and he went to college in Arizona. He went to Arizona State University, so his English was really strong. And I found out like right after I met him that he was like 58, and he was really cool. He helped me a lot. He helped me like talk with everybody and meet everybody, and if there's any misunderstandings with language, he would always help out. And after a few years, he started DJing, and he's 63 now, I think. He's still DJing, hosting events. He's such an inspirational person, and he would have a really unique perspective on everything. Like the probably one of the most unique perspectives you could get in VR chat. You got someone who came in here. I don't even know how much he used computers before he came in here. I'm sure he did, but like I don't know for a fact. I think he did he was an accountant, so I'm sure he used computers, but I don't think he was like, I don't think he was like. His son started doing VR stuff, so he wanted to get a headset to check out what his son was doing. His son was like doing XR and AR stuff, VR stuff, modeling and stuff. So he's really cool. He runs Magenta, which you brought up. Magenta runs like a hip hop event on Friday nights, not every Friday, but Friday nights, and then on Wednesdays during the day, so Japanese times, like morning for us in America, they do like different genre events. He also hosts Sushi House, sorry, excuse me, which is a house event that's sometimes US times, sometimes JP times. There's so many clubs. There's so many clubs on from every country at this point. But Japanese community is wonderful. Try to go to events if you can. Try to add me and join off me if you can. I know it's difficult to come in the morning, but every once in a while, it's a nice change of pace, I think.
I know we would like to really try to get some more Japanese artists and DJs on the show. I know one of the added additional things that we're kind of working on as a team is to try to get an active translator in here. And the thing about it is, if we were going to use a translator, we would need to add up a little bit more time. So it's not just a 2-hour program, probably a 3-hour program. That still seems like a lot of time to talk between 3 people. Yeah. So we're still in the process of that. Obviously open to the idea of having them on the program to kind of discuss a lot of different things. And it's always very good to be able to see that the Japanese community is continuously thriving in here, whether it be from like the Japan tours VR people. I really respect them a lot.
Yes,
Obviously,
yes.
the whole team over at Virtual Market that continue to just make things and continue to do events. Obviously, it's just an ongoing thing, and that's another thing
the
that
language classes.
Yeah.
The tours, the language classes.
Dude, I'm so gassed. I'm so
on.
ready to like learn more Japanese. So when I am prepared, I'm not saying that I'm going to ShelterCon this year. I'd like to, but I would love to be better prepared to like. All I get because I live in Orlando is I got Epcot, so I just go to the Japan Pavilion and start speaking Japanese, and hopefully they can tell me more ideas of it. I just want to kind of jump into just really quick about Data Fruits. And I know that was kind of like a side project that you've been kind of working on with Goose Fruits. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the whole idea of Data Fruits and the Goose Fruits show?
So, friend of mine, Fire Drill, Tony, from Seattle, he started an internet radio station, datafruits.fm, in 2012. The website has been up since 2012. It has barely changed visually since 2012. It is a relic of the past in the most beautiful way. It's just, in the most simplest terms, it's an internet radio streaming. There's always archived shows playing on a loop, and there's a schedule of shows that play throughout the week. There might be 25 shows a week, I think. My show is every other Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. Most of the time, I have a guest on. Could be anybody from anywhere. I try to use my radio show as a way to do things with my DJ friends in a very non-structured way. Like I'll just say, hey, record me an hour mix we're gonna do a radio show together. Most of my friends from around the world that I organize events with for VRChat, that requires people taking time out of their life to do something on usually on a weekend. You know what I mean? So I really was looking for a way to just have more people that I don't get to play with in VRChat. Just a way for us to, keep the ball going without having to keep a club going or keeping events going all the time for us to do in VRChat. It feels like um, everybody already has enough to do. So for me to play with my friends, I wanted to have like something a little less structured and a little more chill. Data Fruits itself, though, is a very free and open space for DJs or people to perform. There's a band called Trash Gods that's just crazy. They played like Tuesday night, I think. It was wild. Check out some of the archives and some of the shows on the website. Um, there's also like jazz, a jazz show. There's all sorts of stuff. It's a very interesting website. Some of the DJs on there are unique. You won't hear anything like them anywhere else. It was the first place. So I told you like VRChat was like a new paradigm of internet music, live music. Like Twitch was one of the only regular places. Data Fruits was like only other regular place that had any sort of semi-frequent events. And it was the owner, Fire Joe, lived in Japan and Korea for a while. So he has friends in Asia and America from music. So Data Fruits was always a very international thing too. And that was the first place that I played besides Twitch. So it felt like a very fitting place to like do a radio show at when I had the idea. And Goose Fruits is just sort of like the simplest name I could come up with for a show name. I kind of like it. Kind of feels like simple and easy, and it fits.
And Data Fruits itself, I mean, I was on the website for about a half an hour a couple days ago, just kind of going around looking at all the archives. And what's so structurally awesome about it, in my opinion, as well as like if you were to think a little bit about the idea of how we continuously say, go see some new DJs, go see someone that you've never heard before, go to some new clubs that you've never seen before. If you're kind of stuck and you got the writer's block, or maybe you're not striking enough passion with what you're performing in VRChat, go do that. Data Fruits seems like the type of place that's like, it's artistically driven, that it's so unique that like everything that you're hearing, you have to find time to kind of process and comprehend. It all makes sense, but it's outside of the realm of whatever the norm you have currently going on, to kind of shake the bag up a little bit and get a better unique look at how you're structurally doing your art and all the performances that you've got going in here. So I do recommend that you go check out datafruits.fm. Obviously, check out Goose Fruits, and make sure that you're seeing that. I know the recent post that you posted for Goose Fruits has this whole lineup of like either live artist stuff or just stuff that you could literally listen to while you're like doing chores or doing your laundry or doing something, but also get a little bit more educated because you're listening to something that you may not have heard ever before. So I would go check that out on your downtime when you get an opportunity. Okay, before we get to the end of the program, it is VRC DJ Live with Paul Manton into the final moments of the show.
Hey.
Normally during the end of the show, what we normally do is we kind of we drill our guests with some rapid fire questions that I don't usually add into their template, and we kind of sit back and talk a little bit about stuff. Out of everything that we've kind of discussed, especially for the people that are new in the scene, they want to join into VRChat to do the DJing and stuff like that, what's a really good sound word of advice that you can give to new people when they're coming in here?
Coming into DJ, you said, right? If you're coming in here to DJ, don't forget what kind of music that you liked to play before you were a DJ for yourself. Like your taste is a product of what you enjoy, and don't lose sight of like what you believe about music and what you enjoy. You were talking before, Rob, about maybe like chasing genres or chasing trends and stuff like that. It's like you can't trick yourself about what you like about music. So I think like going more towards that than going towards trends is like always a smart move. Maybe good to keep that idea with you.
Now, when it comes to music on your Spotify list or whatever you use, SoundCloud, what are a couple of artists that you are frequently listening to, and what are some new people that you're listening to?
Okay, so uh, uh, there's a girl I've been listening to a lot, Sally Tama. I want to make sure. I want to get you the spelling perfect.
I know occasionally with some newer artists, like, you listen to them so often that you're just like, oh man, I keep forgetting what their artist name was.
Now, you know what? I'm looking on Twitter and their name is not showing up. You know how sometimes it does that thing?
I think so.
Like where you're searching for someone and it's telling you they don't exist?
Oh yeah, yeah, and then you have to kind of like try to find them on the URL.
All right. Well, all right. Artists I've been listening to lately, I do a lot of digging for like old stuff. I do a lot of sampling in music production. So like if I'm gonna be honest to you about what I've been listening to the most lately, it's been like funky stuff. I'm gonna give you a specific track. It's called Just Let Me Be Close to You by the Valentine Brothers. Okay? That's the only track you need to tell people about. That'll be the one, all right? I listen to so much stuff every day, it would make your mind bleed. I'm a insane person.
I mean, that's always a good start to try to figure out the new content, or maybe like you'll listen to something. I know for me, when I'm editing, I tend to be listening to the same artist that makes new music, and I'm just like, maybe I should start following them. Maybe I should start like seeing more about them and try to get an understanding of them. But that it's very funny how all of that kind of turns around. Salamata,
Yeah.
Salamata. Okay, cool, wonderful. Um, let's take a look at a very popular question on this channel is, who are your top 3 favorite DJs in VRChat?
Favorites. Dude, that's you can't do that to me.
Kind of have to. I
Can't.
feel like
You can't do that. Okay.
All right, so how
Three
about top
people-
5? You got top 5?
Three people you should check out. Three people you should check out. Okay. I'm gonna go with Other Moon from Japan. Other Moon is a label owner, and by being a label owner, he gets lots of music from track makers. So, from my perspective, he's someone from Japan that has like an insane amount of breakcore music to play. So, if you're someone that's into that type of music, then Other Moon is definitely someone you should check out. And that's one word, Other Moon. Um, EJ from New York is really good. EJ's like, EJ grew up listening to like house music that his dad would play, and then like grew up in New York City, so obviously he had all New York City's influence. And from the moment I heard him the first time, I just like knew he was somebody that really vibed with what I like personally, you know. So I think he's definitely someone that you should check out. Third, um, there's a guy from China. It's U. It's O with 6 U's after it. O U U U U U U. and he's just a really, really crazy DJ. You can probably search his stuff online. Trackmaker too. I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, all of that is super helpful, especially for those people that are constantly looking for some new DJs to come and see perform, especially from around the world too. I mean, I feel like a lot of people will continuously feed into the country of their choosing, but being able to find some time about the DJs in our community is super important as well. Speaking about our community and all of the raving that we've got going on in here, if you were going to make a VRChat rave bingo card, what would be the 5 across?
Okay, the VRChat bingo card. What would be 5? Wait, sorry. The VRChat what bingo card?
Like if you were gonna make if you're gonna make a bingo, if you're gonna do bingo,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
yeah.
All right,
What
I
are the
think I
5
got it.
spots in the VRChat Raver bingo card for you to get bingo?
The 5 spots. All right, it's like someone snoring, someone like passed out snoring. That'd be one for me. Mm, DJ technical issue, or like VRChat technical issue, like whatever, just a general like something like that. Like VRChat going down, like the social going down, so it's always something like Murphy's Law. That'd be one. Um 5. Uh
You could also include the free space. That's always one.
all right. 4. Um um uh, I was gonna say people fighting, but that's not true. I don't see that much in here. Uh I'm trying to think. You know what? VRChat is such a good heavenly place. I can't think of any slights against it. I think that's really what it is.
Well, it's not even just the slights. Like
I know,
I think if you were gonna
I'm just
like,
drawing a
I mean a
blank.
good example of this would probably be like go in a shelter. That'd be one. Or
Oh, I thought you meant like crazy things you'd see or like
no, like if you were gonna if you had a
like bucket list?
yeah, like if you were gonna go to a
Oh,
club and you
sorry.
see
I
someone
read
snoring,
that question
you're
totally
like,
wrong.
oh, cool, this guy's snoring, or this guy's
Yeah.
phasing through the wall or something. I don't know.
I was kind of doing like a 5 crazy things you'd see in VRChat. Like what do you,
Well, I mean, those still
like
work. Yeah, absolutely.
Shelter, Ghost Club, um Poppy Street. Poppy Street is a JP world, which is like there's no video player. It's if there's music in there, it's people playing through their mic. Sometimes you hear people singing, sometimes you hear people playing piano, sometimes you hear people DJing. It's kind of like it's it's like I don't know, sometimes it can be hectic, but it's like the closest thing I've seen to like the Black Cat on their side. It's nothing like Black Cat, but it's like their version of like crazy. Just a different one. Number 4. I keep giving you worlds. I guess that's all I can really. You can't do anything else in VRChat without a world, right? So I guess there's no really other option. All right. This we don't have to go there right now, but I'm gonna drop a portal. I want everyone to see this. You gotta go to Shark Hut. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Shark Hut was made by our friend Sashimi Fugu. It was just their homeworld. Here, you should be able to see that with the camera, right? Shark Hut is Sashimi Fugu's homeworld, and I asked them to put a video player in there so we could DJ in there. And after a while, I realized like every DJ in VRChat had played there, and it's just like this is going back many years now, but it's basically just a white box. It's a room with no, you know what I mean? It has nothing, but it's kind of proof to me that it doesn't require anything to do stuff. Like, and I think other people kind of saw that too. It's like what you bring as people to it. Of course, it's cool to like party in a cool place, but like, okay, now you're in that cool place. How can everyone in there make it more fun? like we're all we have kind of thing. I don't know if that was 4, but I feel like I can't top that one. Like I hope there's a free space after that, because Shark Hut was really, really, like, Mo's played at Shark Hut. 2 TDs played at Shark Hut. Everybody's played at Shark Hut. Everybody who was around in like 2022, 2021-ish played there at some point, I feel like.
I feel like we're gonna have to bring back Shark Hut then, and we'll get a lot more people to perform there. Before we get you on out of
do something.
That's right. Before we get you on out of here, where can we find Paul Manton on the internet?
You can check me on datafruits.fm, SoundCloud, YouTube. Just search Paul Manton. I'm not hard to find. There is some guy this is his real name who does music, and I feel really bad. So don't send any problems his way. He's a good dude. Just don't mix us up.
What are we going to see in Paul Manton in 2026? Are we going to see anything fun?
Right now, I don't have anything big on the horizon. Kind of locked in with real life stuff, but got radio coming up. Not this weekend, but next. I have a special guest from Chile, my friend Westflex. It hasn't been announced yet, so this is the announcement. But I'm really happy to have him on. He's one of the people I met way back in the day on SoundCloud. And he's one of the people that 10 years later is doing bigger things than we ever could have imagined back then. So it's just, it's crazy that we get to, like, I don't get to DJ with him. He lives in Chile. So this is a way for us to do something. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that the Data Fruits is kind of picking up pace for you, and I'm glad that things are working out for you with the DJing and VRChat. And obviously, we want to see you succeed in 2026. So, Paul, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it a lot, Rob.
And of course, that's going to do it for us for this episode of VRCDJ Live. Of course, if you want to take a look at the highlights and the full show recap, we're going to be having that available for you up on YouTube at VRCDJ Live. Of course, our full schedule has already been posted up on our socials, up on X and Blue Sky at VRCDJ Live, including on Instagram, where we also have our highlights posted there too. You could find all of this information via our link tree at VRCDJ Live, is what it's posted in the chat. A couple of housekeeping that we normally do at the end of every episode is that next week we're going to be joined by a couple of dudes, Toxitrate and Oxide from Pulse VR is going to be joining us next week to kind of talk a lot about their successes, where they want to go in the future, and also kind of toss around the idea of being able to collaborate with groups such as Rave Factory and Contain on how much they've been really full throttle, pedal to the metal. Their community's been doing absolutely fantastic. That's going to be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch. If you're watching up on YouTube, make sure you come and watch us on Twitch as well. And of course, if you want to be a guest on the program, or if you know someone special that you would love to have them sit in the hot seat and continue to answer the questions, we have all of the forms available for you, whether you own a club, part of our community, or even a DJ yourself, up on our link tree at VRCDJ Live. So, with all that being said, for our guest Paul Manton and the hot seat there, and for the VRCDJ Live staff behind the glass, I'm Rob Roman. Thank you guys for coming by, and we will see you next time.